This is the Langley, a Tier 3 aircraft carrier. Yes, after the airstrike test a few months ago, American and Japanese carriers are back, and they're here to stay. These new carriers have significant differences in the way they are played compared to the conventional warships in the game. And in this video, we're going to go over all of that. So first, let's take a look at the setup for the ship and the commander. It's Ernest King. His base trait is I come prepared. It improves your ship's AA armament range. First inspiration is Yamaguchi. He increases your ship's AA armament damage. So between the two, you're getting the most out of your AA. As for the secondary inspiration, I selected Franz von Hipper to increase the secondary range and shell grouping of the secondary battery. So this is really your only defense if the enemy starts getting close to you and starts taking you out with either shells or torpedoes. Secondary is really all that you have unless you can get back and try to start dive bombing or torpedoing everybody, which is not really that great of a proposal. As for skills, the first skill is swatting with flies. It increases the damage of your aircraft carrier's AA armament again. The second skill is stronghold. It reduces damage to your aircraft carrier. The third skill is out of sight. It improves the concealment and maximum HP of your dive bombers. And this is the health of the dive bombers, not the amount of damage that is inflicted on a dive bomb hit. Down here, though, it Burn Baby Burn increases the damage and the fire setting chances of your plane's HE bombs. So this does affect the amount of bomb damage. So, damage from bombs and torpedoes in the test was not really all that great. And any advantage you can get as far as that goes is always something you want to look to configure. As far as legendary skills, I've selected Death from Above just to try it out. It increases your dive bomber's speed and it reduces the damage to your aircraft carrier, which sounds like a good thing, but it's only for as long as you're in the proximity of an ally, and that rarely happens in standard. Most of your teammates take off. I will note that Yamaguchi's legendary trait here says that it reduces the damage to your aircraft carrier for as long as you're in the proximity of an enemy, which is, I think, what you want, and I'm kind of hoping that this is a typo, but it may not be. Let's look at the upgrades. First upgrade I've selected is secondary battery. It increases the secondary battery firing range and the dispersion. I took this instead of Air Groups Mod 1 because I didn't really care about the aircraft return speed. And then I did secondary battery Mod 2 again, so I guess this is kind of like a secondary build on the Langley. The other option is to Air Groups Mod 2, which increases the bomber's HP for both types of squadrons. This is the health of the entire squadron. The last upgrade is a default hull upgrade. It increases the hit points of the Langley up to 33,700. Let's look at the loadout. You can see each squadron has 2 engine cooling consumables. Consumable duration is 5 seconds, reload time is 80 seconds, and you have 2 of them for each squadron type. The other consumables here on the aircraft carrier itself are all automatically dispensed by the aircraft carrier, by the AI of the aircraft carrier. It's damage control party. And the fighter consumable, it will follow the ship and automatically attack enemy aircraft. It activates automatically whenever your aircraft carrier is spotted by an enemy. The duration is 600 seconds, reload time is 40 seconds, and the number of consumables is 4, so you can get this going pretty quickly. if need be. As far as the camouflage, I have sci-fi space camo that I created from the Stellar class. You can see I only have it at grade 3 right now. I don't really play the Langley much, so I may eventually upgrade it to grade 4, but so far I haven't. I am using the Stellar class participation flag though, like my other American aircraft carriers. As far as the stats, you see the survivability hit points is 33,700. The armor is pretty thin, which we'll go over in a minute. As far as the aircraft goes, for the Torpedo Bombers, the squadron hit points is 1710. Maximum speed is 112 knots. Attack unit size is 2. 6 aircraft per squadron. 10 aircraft on deck. 59-second aircraft restoration time. The torpedoes, though, have a maximum damage of 5,567. Torpedo speed is 44 knots. Torpedo range is 3.5 kilometers. As far as the dive bombers, the HE bombers, the hit points for the squadron is 2016. Maximum speed is 138 knots. Attack unit size is 2. There are 6 aircraft per squadron. There are 10 aircraft on deck. Aircraft restoration time is 55 seconds. Maximum bomb damage is 9,030 with a 41% chance of setting fire. As far as the bomb damage goes, I'm not sure I've seen anywhere close to 9,030 from a single bomb, so I'm kind of at this point wondering whether it really is from the entire squadron. As far as the artillery goes, you can see the secondary armament. Firing range is 5.2 kilometers with a reload time of 7 seconds. Here's your AA numbers. Maneuverability, maximum speed 18 knots, rudder shift time is 9.2 seconds, but all this is controlled by the AI autopilot. You rarely operate the ship. You can, but rarely do it in actual practice. Concealment is down to 7.7 kilometers, which is pretty good. Let's look at the armor. You can see all this is paper thin, mostly 6 to 14 millimeters, and a little bit around the Citadel is 17 to 24 millimeters. So if you get attacked by someone, you're not going to be around very long. Even destroyers are going to mess you up. So let's remove the armor and look at the Citadel. Okay, so you can see there's this huge part of a fairly lightly armored Citadel sitting kind of above the water there, and that's going to be a real problem. Actually, the entire ship, armor-wise, is a real problem for you, but this doesn't help. It's good to know about. You can't really do much about it. So let's look at the overview. Tough aircraft, aircraft with above average HP pool. Slow aircraft, aircraft with below average speed. Langley was the first U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, and it was converted from a collier. She had a slow speed and was used as an experimental ship for testing various technical innovations, as well as for training Navy pilots. The carrier was equipped with secondary armament to repel attacks from enemy destroyers. She entered service in 1922, and there was 1 ship in the class. So that's it for the Langley. Let's take it out in a standard battle and check out some highlights. Okay, we're in standard. We're in neighbors. And the first thing I thought we'd go over is some of the basics. In order to move the aircraft carrier, you're going to be using autopilot. And you do that by hitting the space bar on the top of the PlayStation controller. And it will bring up the screen that shows all the players and the ships. And it will show a mini map that you could move your cursor around to set your autopilot location, your waypoint. So here we go. You can see I'm going to move around over to the square over there behind this island, and I'm going to try to snuggle it back in there. And we're going to take off in the Torpedo Bombers, and you can see the aircraft carrier is starting to go already. So in order to make your torpedo run, Within like 4 to 5 kilometers of your target, you hit the R2 button and it will initiate the dive. And you kind of have to aim where you think the torpedoes are going to intersect the ship, and then hit the R2 button again, and that will launch your torpedoes. And with any luck, you'll get a hit. We'll see how we do here. The HE dive bombers are kind of the same thing, and we'll get to that in a minute. But for now, we're just out here kind of looking for targets. At the same time we're looking for targets, we're seeing if the enemy is getting kind of too close to our aircraft carrier position, in which case we will relocate the aircraft carrier using the autopilot again. You can manually drive the ship like you do with all the other ships in the game, but in general, I would say 99% of the time you're going to be an autopilot. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take a look at this cruiser, but I think at the last minute I'm going to think this battleship looks better over here. So I'm going to swing over and try to get a good shot on him. It kind of looks like it's too far, but we'll see. I'm going to swing around and take a look. And you can see the torpedoes are way in front of the battleship. So note to self. Okay, so here we go. This kind of looks a little better. You want to let the torpedoes go around 1.5 kilometers away. Otherwise, they won't have enough time to arm. Looks like we're going to get at least one good hit. There we go. And you can see that the torpedoes were angled apart, and that's because the cone spread was kind of spread apart a little bit for the aiming cone. So you want to stay in the dive long enough so the cone straightens out, and then all the torpedoes will go straight. We're going to take off in another set of torpedo bombers, and we're going to try again. The Langley was CV-1. That's the hull designation. It was a collier. Before that, the collier's name was Jupiter. So they converted the Jupiter into the Langley, and that was the U.S. Navy's first aircraft carrier. So it makes sense that it's Tier 3. Don't really expect too much from it. Biplanes is probably exactly what the Langley had. So we're going to come over here, and generally you do have better luck against battleships with torpedoes and bombers. And so I'm going to try to get another run on the Piotr of the Langley. I guess that's how you say it. There is no N in there, so still working on the pronunciation on that. And so you can see the cone is straightened out, and all these torpedoes are pretty much going to go straight. And we're going to turn around and see how we do. Looks like another good hit. And here you can see I can't take another run on him because the island is too close, so I'm going to swing around and take up some time and allow him to go beyond the island, and I'm going to get another shot at him here. So again, when you're close to an island, you want to make sure that when you release the torpedoes, they're not going to hit the island, which does seem to happen a lot. And the yellow space right there is your limitation on where the torpedoes will arm. You can see I got another hit, so we're up to 3 hits and 12,000 damage. So we're getting roughly 4,000 damage points per torpedo hit. So I'm going to switch over to HE bombs this time, and we're going to take off and try to go back there and target the one battleship that I know where it is. Alright, so you want to aim the aiming reticle just like a ship's length in front of the ship, your target, and then hit the R2 button. And right when you get kind of in the front of the ship, you let the bombs go by hitting the R2 button again. And you can see I got 2 bomb hits. There were only 1 bomb per airplane, so with a 2 attack flight, attack size of 2, you're only going to get 2 bombs. I will note that on the Tier 7, each of the aircraft has 2 bombs. So on Tier 7, the attack size is 3 and 2 bombs each, so you get a potential of 6 bombs. But here on the Tier 3 Langley, you only have 2 bombs. So that is one of the differences between the classes of aircraft carriers. I'm going to try the Omaha over here. It's literally the only target I see. And he's kind of down on health, so maybe I can get a kill. Yep, missed. The cruisers and destroyers are very difficult to hit with either bombs or torpedoes. And that's why you want to try to go after battleships or aircraft carriers. I've noticed that the aircraft carriers seem to have quite a bit of AA, so you hardly ever get through there on the aircraft carriers. But this looks like a good lineup, and it's a miss. So I think it was a slight miss, but still a miss nonetheless. Alright, so I'm going to go with Torpedo Bombers. See, we pretty much have a full flight here. And this is why regeneration is pretty important. On these, there's no upgrade for regeneration on Tier 3, but as you get to Tier 5 and Tier 7, you want to look for the upgrades on the ships that will allow a quicker regeneration of aircraft, because you really do want more aircraft on deck as soon as possible. So we are winning the match. There is 1 cruiser and 1 aircraft carrier left, so this is looking good. If you're wondering what CV stands for, the C stands for cruiser, and V is technically fixed wing aircraft, so it is a cruiser carrying aircraft is the literal definition. You can Google it. You can look for a hull designation on Wikipedia, and it will explain that further. CVE is an escort aircraft carrier. CVA is an attack aircraft carrier. And now we're going to take a look at this cruiser and try to get him with some torpedoes. That actually looks pretty good. I'm going to swing around and see how we do. And the cruiser is just too fast and the torpedoes are just too slow. And this was a big problem in general, slow torpedoes and short range. There was a buff recently that increased the torpedo speeds even on the Langley. So we are up to 44 knots torpedo speed on the Langley, and you saw it still wasn't fast enough. We take another run at them. And let him go around 1 kilometer. We'll see if the torpedoes arm. And again, the cruiser is just too fast. I'm going to take one last shot with this flight. And the cruiser's gone. Battle is over with. So, we win the battle. Victory. So, how did we do as a team result? We only got 3 torpedo hits and 2 bomb hits. You can see I finished in 8th place. Not that great of a game, but we did win. Well, that's it for the Langley. You got to see a little bit about how to operate the torpedoes and the dive bombers, and a little bit about the autopilot. So, hope you have fun. It's a good introduction to aircraft carriers. This is the Jaguar. I'll see you on the high seas. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you like it.